In this video, we are talking about a kneeling exercise for babies to help a baby crawl correctly. So what do I mean by crawling correctly? We want all babies to have the opportunity to crawl on their hands and knees, both knees on the ground, both hands on the ground. Babies who skip crawling have some unintended consequences that their same age crawling peers do not have. And I am on a mission to help proactive parents understand that each baby deserves the opportunity to crawl on their hands and knees, and that there are specific proactive things we can do, like tall kneeling, to help them build the strength and the mobility that they need in order to be able to crawl on hands and knees like their same age crawling peers. Hi, I'm Dr. Lauren Baker, a pediatric physical therapist, and on this channel, we help proactive parents learn how to help their babies move better. Think of me as your pediatric physical therapy bestie, here to help you learn how to help your babies move with confidence and ease. Tall kneeling is one of my favorite exercises. In fact, we already have a couple of videos on this channel that go over tall kneeling, whether you have a toddler or if your baby is crawling, because it is a functional position that everyone, including babies, can benefit from. In fact, you might see people in the gym in the tall kneeling position because it is just that important and that good for core strength, hip strength, and in order to do functional tasks like get up off of the ground. So when we see babies who are struggling with crawling or not yet crawling, we want to make sure that we are intentionally giving them play opportunities that can put them in positions that can help them strengthen the groups of muscles that will then help those babies learn how to put everything together and crawl on their hands and knees. Now, you might be asking, is this video even right for my baby? We are looking for babies to crawl specifically on their hands and knees between 9 months and 11 months. If your baby is 11 months and they are not yet crawling on their hands and knees, then we want to make sure that you know that it is within your right to request a pediatric physical therapy or a pediatric physiotherapy appointment so that you can figure out what is blocking your child from being able to crawl. I would also recommend grabbing the free crawling checklist linked above. That's gonna go through a lot of different body parts and a lot of different exercises and positions so that you can figure out maybe which area is blocking your child more. Is it hip strength? Is it core strength? Is it arm strength? Is it mobility? Getting from sitting into all fours requires rotation. And if your child struggled with rolling, that also requires rotation. A lot of babies who do asymmetrical patterns instead of crawling on their hands and knees, especially booty scooting, often have underlying trunk tightness. It's hard for them to rotate and flex their trunk, so they avoid those directions and movements that require that rotation, like going from sitting into all fours, and then they create a pattern that's less advantageous, like booty scooting. Booty scooting does not allow for strengthening through the hands. It is an indicator that there's underlying muscle tightness and also typically muscle weakness. These babies typically also struggled with rolling and tummy time, so there is a pattern here. And my philosophy is always, if there is something that we can do to help these babies move well, then we have a responsibility as proactive parents and physical therapists to educate the general population so that they can spend this time working on things like tall kneeling, using a step stool to help babies crawl correctly, and also build more connection with their children. Now, a lot of families will reach out to me saying things like, it's totally okay if a baby skips crawling. And while that can be common, even in the medical industry, what parents are not told is the specific ramifications that can happen if their child is not crawling. Now, if you do have a child that's over 11 months, What I suggest is starting to implement some of these play positions while you're either waiting on a physical therapy evaluation, or if you found this video and your child is a toddler, making sure that you are giving them crawling opportunities even after they're already walking, like using a tunnel, making forts, crawling underneath furniture surfaces that are safe, creating obstacle courses, things like that, that they can then continue to create those movement patterns. There are so many benefits, both from a physical standpoint for development, helping babies master things they need for future milestones like walking, specifically the hip development. If a baby skips crawling, they might not have the opportunity to develop the hip muscles that they need to go from a one joint activity, crawling, you just have to control your hips because your knees are on the ground, to a 3-joint activity, which is walking, where you now have to control both your hips, your knees, and your ankle joints. So if you skip crawling, you are not developing your hip muscles in a way that can sustain a 1-joint situation. And now all of a sudden you're expected to be able to control your body in a 3-joint situation. Some babies are able to make that jump, but some struggle and then are delayed in walking. So tall kneeling is such a great exercise because you are strengthening the hips. So the ground provides a force through your knees and your body is in an upright position. It often pulls the upper half of the body out of the equation. So if you have weakness in the top half of your body, it's kind of like taking crawling and breaking it apart so you can work on the bottom half of the body while not making it so difficult that the baby just completely gives up. I often talk about there being a Grand Canyon sized gap between not crawling and crawling. And so often if that gap is too big, then babies will give up and won't be able to make each little step to get to the other side. But if you break the exercises down or break the positions down and you work on the bottom half of the body and you work on the top half of the body and then you work on the core and then you put them all together into being in all fours, eventually you will get to the other side of that Grand Canyon on a step-by-step, little-by-little strategy. So tall kneeling is really working on that hip strength. It works on the core strength. Babies do tend to enjoy being upright. Sitting is often one of the more preferred positions than being on tummy time or on all fours, especially with babies who have weakness or tightness. And so tall kneeling is often a really tolerated position. Now, depending on the height of the surface or the step stool that you use, lower is often going to be a little bit harder. You might see babies try to pull into standing and move out of it. Taller is going to be a little bit easier because the baby is going to be a little bit more upright, so it requires less demand on the core. Some differences you might see with babies is that initially they really struggle to extend those hips to get them in a nice and upright tall kneeling position. Some other strategies that can be really helpful if you find that tall kneeling is a hard position are hip helpers. Hip helpers are amazing. They're basically little hot pants shorts that babies wear that are sewn through the middle of their legs, and they basically just take out the baby having to control their hips because gravity is always going to try to push them to the ground. So when babies are trying to stay in tall kneeling, oftentimes they go into a splayed or frog leg position if it's too difficult. But if you add that external support of the hip helpers, it's gonna just take the demand off just enough that then they can hold that position for longer. You want babies to be able to hold the tall kneeling position for about 2 to 5 minutes to really feel like they have the strength and endurance that they need to then start adding other layers on top of it to make it more difficult so then they can move into crawling.
Oh, crash! Yeah. In this exercise, we're really working on getting weight bearing through those hips because we want to increase the strength of that right hip. Yeah. We'll get her used to. Yeah, hi. What? What? What do you got? And I have one hand behind her booty. My knees are about around her hips. And I'm just kind of supporting under the waist to get her a little bit more into tall kneeling. Yeah. Yeah. Good job. Good job. Nope. Those legs gotta be down. They do. Yeah. Ooh, look at you. Look at you doing that all by yourself. Yeah. Look at work on that core control. We gotta keep that righty down. No, ma'am. Oh, you want to bring that out? Yeah. 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 No. Righty's gotta stay down. Yeah, righty's gotta stay down. Yeah. So right now I'm blocking her right. Yeah. No, thank you. No, thank you. No, thank you. Yeah. So right now I'm blocking that right hip with an open hand right on the outside of her hip, and I'm just trying to shift her weight over to that right side. No, thank you. Boop, boop. Yeah. Oh, did you get it? Did you get it? Yeah. Oh, no, thank you. Is it hard? Is it hard work that we're doing right now? Oh, you're doing so good. You're doing so good. What else we got? Get that guy right there. Whoopsies. What if we went like that? Ooh, Miss Lauren, that's pretty cool. Look at you. Can we get it with the righty? I know you're so strong-willed. What about if we do this hand? This hand stays down. Yeah. Yeah. Good job. Yeah. That's silly. Is that silly? Yeah. You're so excited. Did you get it? Can we get it with the righty? Good job. You got that more of a stretch?
And that's a wrap, friends. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to spend it learning with me on how to help your little move well. We obviously want all babies to have the opportunity to crawl because it is such an important physical movement pattern. It's such an important way for them to work with their brain, to work with their body, to connect the dots so that they can build underlying skills that they need for pre-academic work. We also want to make sure that we are using these proactive play positions like tall kneeling to build connection with our children. The more time we spend really helping them build strong bodies, the more we're developing grit and tenacity from such a young age. Babies can do hard things too, and they want to see you helping them get through those moments. I know that parent life is tough, and I just really want to say thank you for taking the time to learn how to better serve your child. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments below. As you can see on my channel, it's one of my favorite things to share resources, answer questions, and write paragraphs back to my families who are really curious about how they can help their children. If you're a parent that really is looking for a little bit more in-depth information, I wanna make sure that you know to check the pinned comment so that you can schedule an online parent consultation with me. It's where we have 60 minutes, we chat, and we can make sure that you have all of your questions answered. You know exactly what the best next steps are for you in your specific situation, as well as some proactive play positions that you can do with your child to help them master this season. If you are curious about other ways or toys that you can utilize this tall kneeling position in, because it's one of my favorites and it's so effective, make sure you check this video out next. It uses the wooden cube toy that I absolutely adore, and it's a great toy that can grow with them as they get into walking. It's a great sturdy toy to help working on pull to stand and squatting.